Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Adam Rundle. It's great to have you join us today.
How are you doing, Rocky? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast.
And I'm excited to learn from you. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes, I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Clever Profits. We are not too dissimilar to you, Rocky. We are essentially a fractional CFO business, but I think we've grown a little bit out of that just over time. And I would say we're more of just an accounting firm. And so we have the array of services that any accounting firm has. My business partner and co-founder, Brian Nguyen, is the tax guy, the tax guru. And so he talks about taxes. I talk about being a good steward of your money and knowing what you're doing in your business. We've grown pretty exponentially over the last couple of years. So that's been a lot of fun. And we're fairly decently sized right now. Quite a few people work with us and quite a number of clients, and just been having a lot of fun building that business.
What do you attribute your growth to?
A number of factors. I think we finally figured out how to do a little bit of marketing and how to actually get our name out there. I think it was probably the biggest one. And I think we also, we don't do marketing. We only do organic stuff. So we actually don't spend any money on marketing. It's just organic. And I would say the single greatest area of growth is referral. I think we've done a measure, like over 80% of our clients have come from a referral. And so I think that's the biggest way, is like we just obviously done a pretty decent job for people. Otherwise they wouldn't refer us. And, now when you have, we've got up over 300 clients, and referrals kind of just keep going. It's like its own train that just keeps coming.
And I know when I started my business, that was the big thing. Everyone talks about marketing, social media. You got to do this, you got to do that. And then a group of people said to me, look, if you get involved in this and you start paying people to do all of this for you, the moment you stop paying them, all of your traffic dies. And so you're getting yourself on a hamster wheel, and you should really consider the cost of that. And being profit first, we're very focused on the bottom line. And so I stayed away from that. And now I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to do it. Same as you. It's a lot of referrals. And just so the audience hears it, how much does it cost in marketing to get a referral?
$0.00.
Exactly. And if you think about that, if you do a good job and you serve your clients well and you help them, they will tell everybody about you. 100%. And your marketing becomes free. So it's important to do a good job and to deliver the services that you do within your business, whatever your business is. And then that builds up the referrals, and referrals.
I cannot agree more. Yeah, literally. And it's also if you've ever been on a sales call before with anyone, a referral sales call is probably the single easiest thing that you can get involved with. So it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It not only saves you on marketing, it saves you on time in making a lot of pitches that people don't take the time to buy from you. And depending on your business, that for some businesses, it's very costly to make those proposals.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so that makes it a lot easier. So let's talk about money. What is the biggest financial issue that you see with business owners?
And I know you're a profit first. A lot of our methodology was certainly kind of founded a little bit in profit first. I don't think we have some different views on how to build P&Ls and stuff like that. But I don't think one is wrong or right. It's just a difference of the way it kind of boils down. But I think the biggest thing is creating alignment around. I think the three key principles to managing finances is understanding how you earn money as a business owner and what are the mechanisms around that, how to build something that's profitable, and then how to grow something. And that's what cash flow is, how to grow something. And I think those three things are kind of the three forces that you actually act against each other in reality. If you want to be super profitable, you've got to be lean and mean. If you want to grow, you often have to add more, invest more, spend more. So you kind of like, well, which one do I do when? they're kind of a little bit different from each other. They operate very differently to each other. I think they can coexist beautifully, but you've got to create an environment for them to coexist beautifully. And then the business owner is, how are you paying that person money? Is it, salaries and draws, and how does that affect profitability? How does that affect cash flow? And so these three forces are have the potential of literally working directly against each other. And so I think your job as a business owner is to create alignment so that they work for each other. And when you do that, that's when you start to see the ultimate results of businesses flourishing, I think.
And I think a lot of business owners think that they are going to grow their way to profitability. And nothing could be further from the truth, because as you grow, it literally crushes cash flow.
Yeah.
And so I think the number one reason businesses probably go bankrupt is growth. They grow themselves.
Well, it's cash flow, and it's because of a misalignment of how to grow, when to grow, or just profitability, or I think there's a multitude of factors, but that's certainly one of them out there. I think when there's misalignment with these things, I believe, and one of them is growth. Growth is the massive one. How do you grow and how do you factor cash flow and growth? When there's misalignment, there's issue that needs failure.
So how do you help people create alignment?
So we have some frameworks we use. We have a framework that's called the perfect P&L. So it's not too dissimilar from Profit First in an allocation system. It just focuses on some different things. Like our major focus is client acquisition and fulfillment. And we I think Profit First is owner's pay and then operational expenditure. We break down operational expenditure into micro details around, how to invest into growth and how to invest into fulfillment, like your team of people. So using the perfect P&L is the one. And then we have a cash flow analysis kind of tool we use around what is sufficient amount of money, at what the level you're at and what you're trying to do, what should your fuel tank look like? And then we combine that with what we call the golden ratio, which is the ratio of how you spend money around client acquisition and fulfillment. And, we believe if you get that ratio right, I believe that's kind of the heartbeat of a business. If you can spend the right amount of money on client acquisition and the right amount of money on fulfillment, and at any level, one, you'll be profitable, most likely, because if you're spending money anywhere else, you're wasting it, because it's a non-needle mover in your business. Spending money on software is not going to make you more money. It's a byproduct. So if you get that ratio right, you're going to be profitable, but that's also where we're going to invest into growth. So now we can talk about profitability and growth in the same term. They're not two separate things. They're talked about in the same place at the same time.
And that makes a lot of sense. And we started off with saying, hey, why not have free marketing, which is doing the job right so that you don't have to spend all that money.
Exactly. And sometimes that free marketing is, I have to say, like marketing, paid acquisition, you can run a really good business. You can make multiple seven figures with zero paid acquisition, but you probably still need to do some marketing. I think you need to have a presence. You need to have, you need to do content. You need to be organically involved in social media channels. And so that's a form of client acquisition. So thinking about that as well. I mean, obviously, the cheapest we can get a client to pay us money is what we want to do. And so if we get that right, well, the likelihood is you'll be more profitable. The likelihood is you'll be able to grow and scale more robustly.
And you made another interesting comment. You mentioned software as one example of it, but I think too often business owners see money in the bank. They think they have to spend it on the business, and they don't always spend it intentionally. More often than not, they buy what I call vanity, right? I need a new truck, a nicer office, a fancy desk. We need, nicer signs or a new website. And all of these things are important, but nobody says, I picked you because your website was nicer.
Yeah.
Nobody says, I picked you because you have better software, unless they're buying software. And so it's being important in understanding that there are business expenses that are truly essential. And then there are business expenses that aren't. And you kind of highlighted that you.
And I think in your world, in the Profit First world, you highlight that very, very directly around the order of which you put importance. Like, hey, owner first, then, taxing. And, I know enough about profit first. I'm not going to advocate that I know everything, but that's one of the ways you do that. And I know Mike Michalowicz talks about, I think, what does he call it? He calls it the some effect of when if you put something first, it has more relevance. If you put it last, it has less relevance. So if you get the order of thinking right, you're going to put the most important thing first. The way we do that is we talk about the golden ratio. So we talk, and part of the golden, part of fulfillment is owner's pay. So we don't neglect owner's pay, because if you're going to truly build a business that's sustainable, you're part of the fulfillment part of your business. So you have to factor in how much money you earn so that you can measure efficiency. But we put those two first. Those two are most primary things: is how much you're spending on acquiring new clients and how much you're spending on delivery. And our view is like, if you're spending money outside of those two things, it is not going to make you more money. The only reason you should spend money outside of those two things is to keep up. It's the only reason, is to keep up. So you're spending more money on software and stuff like that just to keep up, just to make sure that it's sustainable, not to make more money. And when you show business owners the effect and how they earn money and how profitability works, they start to go, okay, well, I don't want to spend money anywhere else. I only want to spend it on the needle mover, because that's the impact that's going to have a positive impact.
And you're helping them get focused.
Yeah.
And I think for most business owners, and I don't know what you find, but I find that 80% of business owners don't look at their P&L statement. You talk about, that being a core thing with you. And when they look at it, they have no idea what they're looking at. And when I dig into it and I start asking them questions about large expenses, they're like, I don't even remember what that is, or, oh, that's miscategorized.
Yeah.
And so having good, clean books and then reviewing it, I think for most people, at least monthly is pretty good to get a bigger picture and do that scope. Do you have any recommendations on that? How often do you have your people look at it?
Yeah, so we go weekly if we can. If you're going to make more than $1 million a year and you're not looking at your finances weekly, I think you're being irresponsible. What are you going to look at 12 times a year to make an adjustment, or 52? Which one do you want to take? Everyone would say 52. So done deal. Look at them every week and make some adjustments. I think if you're making anything less than $1 million, I think you can get away with monthly. I think that's fine. If you're not looking at them, at least those two, then you're flying by the seat of your pants. You may as well give up right now. And so, yes, so I think that's fundamentally important. And I also think it's what you look at. So something that we do is we actually don't send P&Ls out and balance sheets and cash flow statements to any of our clients. We have it's a one page. It can be 2 pages depending on how detailed, how big their cash movement forecast, like pivot table is. But it's a one pager that kind of encompasses those 3 things: both profitability, balance sheet. So in most people, balance sheet is just cash, just how much money they actually have on hand at the point in time, and then cash flow is movement of money. So how is it what is the movement been over the last 7 days or whatever that period is? And it's a one pager, pretty intuitive. We highlight client acquisition and performance, like right at the top, and then everything else flows from there. And so what we found is that when you send something that is hard to follow, you're not going to follow it. So send something that's easy to follow. Just highlight the 5 things you want them to see, and they'll see it. And then you can send them to them as often as you want, and they'll see.
And I don't send people P&Ls and balance sheets either. I give them their allocations, and they have a quick calculator, and all they do is we set a rhythm for them. And each company has their own rhythm, but on the day that you're supposed to, you sit down, you look at your bank account, you put in the number, and it tells you how much to allocate to all your categories. Yep. You move the money there, and you're done. I'm the one who's digging in behind the scenes. And then when we sit down monthly, or sometimes we'll do it twice a month, I will dig in. And then what we're really looking for is creating the next action steps for the business owner. Yeah. So I'm not making their eyes glaze over with numbers. I'm like, okay, this is what the number is. Are you happy with that? No. What steps can we take? And part of it is increasing income, and part of it is cutting spending, and part of it is increasing efficiencies. Yeah. How do we increase efficiencies? And then it's answering the big questions like, can I hire another employee? Well, let's talk about it. What's the employee going to do? How much revenue are they going to bring in? How long is it going to take? And do you have the reserves? Because just because you hire somebody today, they're not going to produce value tomorrow. It takes time. So it's plotting that out and being able to answer the actual questions versus digging into the numbers themselves. Agreed. The numbers tell me a story. That story allows me to ask better questions, and the better questions help the business owner to make better decisions.
Questions are one of the single greatest things we all have. We've got to use them. We've got to use them better.
We do. And as a leader, you need to have people who are constantly questioning you as the leader and questioning your business. And if you don't know the answer, and I'll be honest, like most people don't know the answers to these questions, you got to go figure it out. And that's what makes you a better leader and a better business owner.
Agreed. Cannot agree more.
So let's shift gears. Since we're talking about leaders and leadership, I know that there's a book that you very much enjoy that you wanted to share with the audience. I believe it's called Legacy by James Kerr.
That is correct. So I'll pre-frame it a little bit. Our business has been fortunate. We've done pretty well over the last couple of years. And when I was introduced to a guy named Mike Budden, who I'm South African originally, born and bred in South Africa, living in the States now. And when I was back visiting in South Africa over December, I met Mike Budden, and he runs the Chapman & Co. Leadership Institute in South Africa. And Chapman & Co. Leadership Institute is an American institute founded by a gentleman by the name of Bob Chapman, who wrote the book Everybody Matters. And he co-wrote that with Raj Sisodia. Well, Raj Sisodia co-wrote it with him. And Raj Sisodia also co-wrote Conscious Capitalism with John McKay, founder of Whole Foods. And he through his journey of being the CEO of Barry Wiener, this very big manufacturing firm, he realized that, everybody matters. You've got to figure out a way to care for your people, like you care for your family. And that's how businesses thrive. And so he founded this leadership institute, and we've been engaged with them for a while, both internally in our business. Every single member of our business is doing some personal leadership development and personal growth development through them. And we've got a group of 10 of some of our, pretty big business owners who are clients who are doing a 12-month kind of mastermind intensive facilitated by the Chapman & Co. Leadership Institute. And what I've realized, and I think I may have known it for a while, but what I've realized is this is the difference maker in business. It's people. It's, can you manage people effectively? You can have the best idea in the world. You can have the best thought in the world. You can have the best product in the world. But if you don't have good people, you're never really going to go anywhere. And how do you find and retain and foster and build good people? Well, you've got to be a pretty decent leader to do that. So this kind of thought around leadership. And my journey of leadership started in the sporting world because I'm actually coach rugby. I wanted to be a professional rugby coach long before I wanted to be an accountant. And I'm fortunate enough, I still coach rugby at the United States Naval Academy, so that's been a lot of fun. And in 2014, I spent time in New Zealand with arguably the most successful rugby team in the world, which is seen by the name of the Crusaders. Probably the most successful international team in the world is the All Blacks, the national team of New Zealand. And they're one of the internal teams, the Crusaders is definitely their most successful team. And they had a bunch of international players on their team. And I spent 6 weeks with them trying to learn how to be a better rugby coach. And what I learned is people is everything. It's just about, they have these philosophies. Better people make better All Blacks. Just be a good human. And the likelihood is you would be pretty good at what you do. And then a guy wrote a book shortly after. I don't know when it was first published. I'm actually going to look now. I think it was shortly after I left. It says 2013. So it was maybe just as that was happening. Steve Kerr wrote a book called Legacy. And Legacy is literally the subtitle is What the All Blacks Can Teach Us About Business or Life. The business of life. And it's 15 principles that the team uses that you can apply to business. Things like sweep the sheds is one of them, one of the first ones. So these international, some of the best rugby players in the world, after every game, they themselves sweep the sheds. They don't wait for someone else to do it. This is their home. Why should someone else clean up my home? I clean up my own home. Follow the spearhead is another one. Don't be a dickhead. Speak my language is another one. These incredible little principles around just being good people. And that's really, and I recommend, and actually at the United States Naval Academy, it is a prescribed reading in their leadership department, Legacy, the book Legacy, the prescribed reading at the Naval Academy. And I would recommend every single person, let alone business owner, read it because I think it would make a big difference in their life.
Very cool. And you said you're starting or I guess you have a business mastermind group that you're working with, correct? That's something that
we do. So facilitated by Chapman & Co Leadership Institute. So by those leaders, and I don't advocate to be someone who can facilitate leadership, but I kind of run the mastermind through our through our clients and stuff like that. And so every 6 months we gonna launch 10 to 12 people to go through that leadership journey.
And what is the goal of that? Like, what are they learning in doing that?
So it's definitely a journey. We've called it a journey for a reason, because I think anything leadership or personal development is a journey. There's no defined outcome. The outcome will keep moving. Ultimately, learning how to be a better CEO and how to authentically lead your team to greater heights, centered around these thoughts around everybody matters, and how do you care for people with empathy and care for people like the way you want to be cared for. Thoughts around conscious capitalism. Conscious Capitalism, John McKay, amazing book, and I think you would love it as an accounting person. We've been shoved this notion of capitalism from Milton Friedman time around profit, screw the world, shareholders' earnings. And, actually capitalism, Adam Smith, who's the founder of capitalism, didn't have that view. His view was you serve people, serve your clients, create a good environment. The byproduct is you'll be very profitable. And it kind of shifted, Milton Friedman. And so my financial education has been centered around, screw the world, make money. And I think the job of a CFO, though, is an interesting job, because as a CFO, you've got to figure out where you sit here. That's your fundamental job, is to ensure the business is running financially sound. What's the ultimate measure of running financially sound is, are you profitable? It's like the ultimate measure. There's a number of others, but it's probably the ultimate measure. Yet what I've learned is that, and John McKay said it so beautifully in Conscious Capitalism, it's a balance of understanding that you need to have conscious leadership, caring for people, putting your customers first, being authentic, being genuine, don't be a dickhead, and doing that and putting profit where it needs to be, and making sure that it's true, that you are holding yourself accountable to the profitability of your business, because you can't do one without the other. And so I feel like our job has become that in Clever Profits, is we're going, okay, we will advocate for the Milton Friedman style screw the world profitability, but that's not what we believe. So we want to work with CEOs that believe in conscious capitalism, that believe in something more. And I think the combination is what can truly survive. It's like, hey, if you can authentically lead, and we can help you manage your finances with the same thoughts in mind, you can be successful.
And so when I started my business, and part of the problem, Mike's book is called Profit First. Mm-hmm. And there are times where you get a very negative reaction from people right up front. They're like, oh, all you care about is money. I'm like, no. It's not about the money, but the money is the fuel that's going to allow you to take better
100%.
care of people. a lot of the people that I work with have massive goals of being charitable. And we dedicate their profit accounts to their giving. And that's how they give, because you can't give out if you have to give out of your surplus. So you need to have surplus to give. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you won't be around in 5 years to give. And so this is a constant struggle, and a fine line of balance is, and I tell people, and I make that comment all the time, we're going to cut expenses except in one area. I want you to pay your people more, and I want you to surround yourself with better people. And I don't mind at all paying for better people and incentivizing that. So it is very much of a lever that you have to be very careful with. If you're doing nothing but going after the dollar, it turns you into a miserable person.
Agreed.
And it's a miserable life. And nobody wants to work for you because that's the way you're kind of treating people. And nobody wants that. So I always make a point, and I think even in my bio and on some of my things, we talk about that. The purpose of profit is to be able to allow you to be able to do the good you want to do in the world. And so it's important to kind of balance that out appropriately.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. I think that is, and I would say, I find it hard to believe that a lot of people wake up in the morning and say, well, how do I be a horrible human and just care about myself? I think there's innate in most humans to be caring and kind and generous. I think that's normal. Circumstances and other things can drive us a different way. But I certainly believe it's pretty. People wake up going like, "Hey, I want to be a good person. Like, I want to make a good impact. Like, I want to do all of that." And we hopefully we can enable that. And our job here is to enable that, is to have those conversations, not just about money, but about leadership, and ask those questions. Go back to questions. Quality of your questions gets the quality of the outcome of what you're trying to do. So do we ask good questions? Okay, great. You're at a 5% profit margin, but that's not the be all and end all. There's 10 other questions we can ask to actually see where we are and what we're doing, whether this is working or not working. And if we just stopped at the profit number, we would never get there.
It's a struggle. And I will tell you, I think the one thing, though, when business owners have profit, it gives them the peace of mind that they can behave appropriately.
100%.
And a big part of what we do is, we want you to run your business based on your values, not your bank account. And when there's no money in the bank account, it creates that tension between your values and another buck to make payroll. And that's where I think people get into the wrong situation. But when you do have good cash flow and good profit, it allows you to build on your values and to do the right thing and not to have to struggle with that decision. So you'll sleep better at night.
Yeah. And I think, and that's where, things like alignment, things like looking at your finances, understanding what's being said, understanding how to interpret them. Those are important things. Like, go back to that question you asked me, how often should you look at your finances? Okay, well, you can do that 12 times a year, or you can do that 52 times a year. I would choose 52 times a year because it would give me 14 more opportunities to ask a good question, to make a good decision, to try and make a good, try and change an outcome. That would be my argument. And that's all you're trying to do. I mean, if you can do that, Bill Welsh, and if you've ever read the book, The Score Takes Care of Itself by Bill Welsh, the San Francisco 49ers head coach from a number of years ago when they were, cleaning up the Super Bowl. And literally the book is The Score Takes Care of Itself. It says, if you only focus on the bottom line, you're probably not going to get there. You got to focus on all the other little things that get you there.
As part of my client onboarding process, my first appointment is 2 hours long, and we don't talk about numbers.
Wow.
We talk about the person, their dreams, what got them there. We look at their mindsets. We say, where have we come from? and where are we going? And once I understand that, then I will help you get your business in alignment with who you are, because that's what it all comes back to. And that's a big part of the process. If you don't do that, and if I don't understand the person that I'm talking to in their journey, we're always going to be at friction.
The one of the very common questions I get, or we just get as an organization, I guess, is, so what business model should I be using? So what should I do? Should I change from, being a done-for-you digital marketing agency to selling a course? Or what should I do to make more money? And my answer's been the same for as long as I can remember, is you're asking the wrong question. Because every single business model works. They wouldn't exist if they didn't work. You can build skyscrapers and the business model works. You can be a dentist and the business model works. They all work. They work differently. There's uniqueness about them, and the way they work are maybe different, but they all work. What matters is, are you prepared to do the work? And if you're prepared to do the work, it will work. And you're not going to do the work if you don't want to do the work. Human beings do not operate that way. We are by nature follow the path of least resistance. So why choose a business model that doesn't resonate with you, that you don't feel passionate about, that you don't feel like you want to do, that you don't feel driven by? Because you're not going to do the work, because there's work to be done. And all of them, just because it's a better business model doesn't mean it's easier. It's a fallacy. There's work to be done in all of them. Rather do the work that means something to you, the work that you resonate with, the work that you want to do, the work that inspires you, the work that gets you excited in the morning. Then follow the models. You'll make money.
And I help people find alignment with that. I mean, I love what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And there are so many business opportunities I turn down because I just what you said, I look at it and I go, yeah, I could make money, but that would just not be fun for me. And so I'm out. It's not worth the money. I don't need it anymore. It's more about enjoying what I do and enjoying life and having fun.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. There's I don't know if you would know who they are. There's a company called Conversions.ai. The CEO is a guy named Dave Rogamosa. They're based out of Austin, and they started a tech company. It's a tech company, SaaS company that does conversions like copywriting using AI software. And they are doing exceptionally well. And I actually interviewed him the other day, and he that was his thing. He said for like 3 years, they were trying to build something that they actually just didn't really want to build. And they were just trying to build and build and build. They never really got anywhere. And then they actually laid off a bunch of people that were working with them. They realized it's not going to work. This is not going to happen. And after that, they got the idea for Conversions.ai. And he said, now we're just having fun. He's just having so much fun, and they are doing so well. It's frightening. And he's like, it's crazy if you just it's crazy. Like, why do something you don't want to do? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And I think the other half of that is you build your business model is do something fun, but make sure it delivers value that people are willing to pay for. Because if you're not delivering value and you're a commodity product, it's never going to be fun.
100%.
You've got to make sure that you can make enough of a difference to do that. But yeah, it still shocks me how many people are living a life where they aren't having fun. And if you're not
chasing something that you think is going to give you an outcome. And I wouldn't advocate that I have a ton of fun all the time. I don't think business is always fun. There's hard parts and stuff like that. But I think if you can look at yourself and what's the net, net at the end of the day, what is it? Where would you rank yourself? As long as you can say that being fun, I think you win. You're not allowed to say winning though. If you ever read Simon Sinek's books, can't win in life, can't win in business. You can only partake. So you got to stop the word. So I got to stop using the word winning. I use the word winning a lot.
Enjoy, right? Enjoy the ride.
100%.
Cool. If people would like to learn more about you, I know you have a lot of free materials that you provide on what you've talked about today. What's the best way for them to learn more about your company?
Yeah, I mean, social media is kind of the way to go these days. So, if you're on Facebook, my name's Adam Rundle. We've got Clever Profits on Facebook. Pretty easy to find. You do have a YouTube channel, which has got a ton of videos on and stuff like that. If you're interested in any of the content or whatever, you can always go look at. Cleverprofits.com. My name is Adam. So adam@cleverprofits.com is my email address. Pretty simple. Reach out. We'd love to chat to anyone who's interested in anything, especially if you're interested around leadership. It's become my biggest focus going forward. We've fortunate enough to have a number of other account managers and people around doing the clever work around the financial side. And I'm spending a lot of my time as more in an advisory role and doing a lot of leadership stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, you want to get to know more about Chapman and Co Leadership Institute, bring me know and I'll connect you for sure. They're an awesome bunch of people there.
Cool. And I will put those in the show notes to make it easy for people to find
Thanks,
you.
Rocky. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for coming today.
Awesome. Cheers.